Well, this is what happens when you don't take the enemy seriously. So-called refugees, people leaving their homelands, pouring into Europe, among other countries. We've taken in 70,000 this year or thereabouts. But I want to get to that in a moment. First, I want you to know I'm not aware of any other time in American history that a president of the United States has negotiated a deal with an enemy, with a sworn enemy. Any deal with a sworn enemy that seeks America's destruction. Brazenly says so time and time again. I'm not aware of any president negotiating such a deal. I'm not aware of any political party endorsing the deal that the president has negotiated. And yet virtually every Democrat in the United States Senate and virtually every Democrat in the House of Representatives supports this deal. Virtually every one. A deal in which the regime in Tehran, the Islamo-Nazi regime, inspects itself. A deal in which uranium enrichment continues. A deal in which centrifuges, advanced centrifuges, continue to be built. A deal in which ICBMs continue to be perfected. Dealing with a terrorist regime that will now have tens of billions of dollars for terrorism. And in the end, when it's over, we'll have the ability to quickly build their nukes. This is the best we could do, we're told. Colin Powell says he really studied this very carefully, you know. It's a great deal. Now, I'm a little bit handicapped today because my AOL is down. Mr. Producer, do we have Mr. Colin Powell's comment from this weekend? I want you to hear this guy. This guy, I have to be blunt with you. This guy, plucked out of obscurity by Cap Weinberger, Ronald Reagan's defense secretary, head of the Joint Chiefs, then head of the National Security Council. He winds up his biggest position being Secretary of State. He endorses Barack Obama in 2 elections. Apparently John McCain was a little too right-wing for him. He's never criticized Barack Obama publicly. They bring him on these phony network Sunday shows so he can endorse Obama. And now he's endorsing this outrageous deal. Because it's obvious Colin Powell in this regard is about race. It's that simple. Race, I said it. Race, race, race. And he's not going to say a negative thing about Barack Obama because of race. He's not going to criticize this deal because of race. So he's to be dismissed. But before I dismiss him, here's what he said. Cut 7, go.
Let's start right with Iran. Is this a good deal?
I think it is a good deal. I've studied very carefully the outline of the deal and what's in that deal.
Stop right there. He studied very carefully the outline of the deal. On top of everything else, he's a liar. He doesn't even have access to, except one that was leaked to the Associated Press. He doesn't have access to these full side deals. What does he mean he studied very carefully the deal? The outlines of the deal. And even if he knew everything about the deal, what kind of a fool supports this? Go ahead.
I've also carefully looked at the opposition to the deal, and my judgment after balancing those 2 sets of information is that it's a pretty good deal.
Pretty sad, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Inspections, really none to speak of. The enemy continues its uranium enrichment. They continue to build advanced centrifuges. They're perfecting their ICBMs. They get to spend billions and billions of dollars on terrorism to attack us and our allies. And in the end, they acquire nuclear weapons. And Colin Powell thinks that's a pretty good deal. He's become a clown. He's become a fool. Now, a bigger clown and a bigger fool would be Bob Corker. None of this would have been possible but for this Corker deal. Because what Obama negotiated was a treaty. And a treaty cannot become law America cannot be obliged to adhere to it unless two-thirds of the, people are saying two-thirds of the Senate. It's two-thirds of the senators present. Two-thirds of the senators present when it's brought up for a vote, ratify it. And now we have the grand announcement today that there are 41 Democrats in the Senate who support the deal. And because of the Corker deal, because of Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, that fraud, because of all of them, 41 votes does what? 41 votes, a minority, can now prevent a vote, period. Even though it was supposed to be majority decision, 41 Democrats in the Senate can now prevent a vote, period. We've gone on with this fan dance, this great drama, as one after the other announces. Strategically, this has all been coordinated. They're running circles around the morons who run the Republican Party in Washington, D.C. Circles. And yet there are things that can be done. Things that I've been arguing for. Why don't they suspend the filibuster rule, at least for this vote, so they can vote against this deal, quote unquote, and send it to Obama's desk and force him to veto it and force all these Democrats to vote and take a position. If they're going to sell the nation down the river, if they're going to arm up the enemy with nukes, if they're going to threaten future generations, and by God, their name should be attached to it, and all the subsequent blood should be on their hands. But even more, if Mitch McConnell were a man, a statesman, a leader, halfway competent, halfway intelligent, halfway strategic, if he would put his country before his leadership position, he would declare that Barack Obama has violated the Corker surrender bill in multiple ways and treat this as a treaty. Who has been saying this for months and months and months? Me. And call up the vote. A treaty vote. A treaty vote. Now the filibuster becomes irrelevant. Because if the Senate doesn't ratify with two-thirds of the members present, it's not ratified as a treaty, is it? All of a sudden, Barack Obama and Harry Reid are impotent. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter if they have 41 votes. If every senator's present, let's say 100, they need 67 votes. All of a sudden, the Constitution's relevant again. All of a sudden, the framers' intent is the will of the people. All that stands between stopping the arming up of the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran with nuclear warheads to put on their ICBMs to shoot at our country. All that stands between that and them, the Republicans. The Republicans can do this. Will they do it? Will Mitch McConnell step up? Will John Cornyn step up? Will Bob Corker step up? No, they're not going to step up. But I want you to know, and I will make this point tomorrow at the Stop Iran Nuking Up rally, noon tomorrow, western side of the Capitol Hill on the western steps. Please join us. I will be there. Others will be there. I will make it clear that the people in that Capitol building, in the domed building behind us, have the power to treat this as a treaty and vote it down for the good of the nation. And it's time that the world knows. It's time that the world knows that the American people have more resolve than the President of the United States. It's time that the world knows that the American people do not support this president. It is time that the world knows that we're sick and tired of hearing death to America by some throwback subhuman. Death to you, you little bastard. That's what we think. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.